If somebody is listening right now and they are absolutely feeling burned out, what is one thing they can do, like right now, that it will at least bring it down a little bit? Because we know we can't fix everything.
If you are that overwhelmed, you can't think logically. You're not going to make probably sound decisions. So I think it's like just a signal that something's not working. Take a break, rest.
If you keep going and going and going and you're not enjoying what you love to do anymore, what's the point? And how much more harm than good are you doing?
Look at your list, decide what good enough looks like, and stick to good enough until you feel like you have the capacity for more. Let good enough be good enough, drop that bar, and get done what must get done. You can come back and perfect it later.
Everything we do is not life or death. It feels like it. It feels tense. It feels more important than it is. So if you're feeling burned out, ask for help and stop. Welcome to No Alcohol Needed, the podcast. You're hanging out at the intersection of emotional wellness, personal growth, and living an alcohol-free life. Here we share everything we've learned and continue to learn about how to be happy, no alcohol needed.
Welcome to No Alcohol Needed. It's so nice to have you here with us today. We are here hanging out with Chrissy and Joshua. We've got some new faces joining us today, which is awesome. We are here to talk about burnout. We are going to talk about what to do when you get burned out. We're going to talk about what it looks like. We're going to talk about how to recognize it in yourselves. And we're going to just give you guys some stuff to learn and some action items you might be able to take away with this. So we're going to dig right into it. And we're going to start with, what are some early signs that you're headed towards burnout that a lot of people tend to ignore? Because I think we let ourselves go too far, and we could probably catch ourselves sooner if we knew what to look for. So what does that look like for you guys in your own lives?
I feel like I get very overwhelmed. So that feeling of overwhelm, that bubbling feeling like I can't take it anymore. And it kind of makes you spiral. And then I'll take it just one step further. I don't know if, you guys can resonate with this, but then it leads to like bad habits and like almost avoiding things. So I'm scrolling or, maybe mindlessly eating and just kind of increasing the overwhelm and not actually getting to the root of the issue.
Mm-hmm. Totally resonate with that. 100%.
It's a lot of people pleasing and pressuring myself to kind of overperform or be a higher and higher performer. So exhaustion and the the crash is kind of where I end up. But the earlier signs are kind of like wanting to be in control, wanting to know how something's going to work out or when it's going to happen or what somebody's going to say or do. And if I get caught up in that, those are my early warning signs that I'm going to be headed towards burnout. The over planning, like a big part of my job and life is planning schedules and coordination and stuff. And then, but that doesn't necessarily apply to my personal life or just life in general. And that can kind of create more anxiety and rather than just enjoying life and enjoying the organic relationships. So, and then on the outside, people like it because it's responsibility, dependability, consistency. But on the inside, there's a storm going on. It's going to be ending up in burnout. So to be aware of some of those survival traits, a lot of that comes from my childhood growing up in a abusive, dysfunctional home, which stepping into recovery, I've started to see those little nuances, like give me an idea, like, hey, I need to focus on myself and do some self care.
For sure. So I think that's something really important to recognize, is that for most of our listeners, they're on some version of an alcohol-free journey, whether they're working on it or they've been sober for a while. And I think that's one of the gifts, is that you have the clarity to see it before you land in it, like you were talking about. I think that I noticed myself headed that direction more now than I used to. It used to just be like I was completely oblivious to everything and numbing everything until I completely lost control. So I love what you said about scheduling your time. When I made some notes today. Okay, so true story. I've literally been in like a state of burnout for the last 2 weeks. So I took myself for a walk today. I walked around the park and I'm like, okay, the irony here is not lost on me that I am recording a podcast on burnout, and that's exactly where I am. So I had a little chat with myself today, and I started going through some of these questions. But I have very direct experience to be able to offer to this podcast, which I guess is good. What you said, Joshua, about the scheduling and stuff, I've noticed one of the things that I've been doing lately is I'm super rigid. Like I'm scheduling every hour of my day. And then if I don't manage to stay on that schedule, then I start to panic. And that's not, I'm a really, really dang organized person, but not that organized. And so like, I'm just, when you're talking about that, I'm like, I feel that, dude, so much. But yeah, that's the same. So much of what Chrissy and Joshua just said are the same symptoms that I noticed. I feel like there's just too much to do, and there's not enough time to do it, and it's like this perpetuating cycle of I can't ever get everything done until I feel like I'm just overwhelmed, like Chrissy said. And then and the other thing, I'll stop talking. I've been like dealing with some stuff today, dude.
And yeah, you have. You have.
One more thing that I've noticed, I get really frustrated at little things. Like they set me off, and I'm usually pretty chill. And like I yelled at my dog I do not yell at my dogs. Like it's not a thing that I do. And she would not stop barking, and I actually yelled at her, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is like red flags going off. Julie needs to do something to re-regulate. So, okay, those are my symptoms. Steve, take it away.
I mean, I think whenever we say, like, I've got so much to do and not enough time to do it all in, and you can say that in like a calm tone, and generally you can recognize that that's just fact. But when you're already saying it in like a high stress, high tone, high energy, like frustrated type of energy with, you're already snippy. And I'm not saying you as in you,
no,
like
you're literally talking about me yesterday. I get it. It's cool.
It's okay though. Like it's I'm not talking about you, but that's how you were. But anyways, the classic avoidance part, right? Like I'm avoiding everything that I'm feeling. I have my warning signs. I have the things that say like I'm pushing this bar too far, but I'm still taking care of everyone else or everything else instead of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the warning signs where I have to go and do. I have to go and do. I have to go and do. And I'm not going and doing some of those small things that I know that are good for me through whatever it is, throughout the day or whatever, but I'm doing everything for everybody else and everything else. And I'm not doing anything for myself. And I know if that's the case, and I start saying words and I start getting snippy and I start kind of turning into the asshole that I don't want to be, like there are signs. I'm not acting like the man that I would like to be acting like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on my way. That's like a leading indicator to I'm abandoning things that are important to me, but I still have all of this shit that still needs to get taken care of. You know what I mean? So I'm snippy, I'm frustrated. You're going to come to me with a problem. I am not going to have the capacity to listen to you properly. I'm not going to have the capacity to show up for you in the way that I would actually show up for. And you'll know it. I'll be distracted. I'll be trying to do things while I'm engaging with you. And it's no one wins. And I feel I'll still feel like I'm giving you the time you need when that is a farce.
Mm-hmm.
It's spreading yourself too thin. If you're doing
Yeah.
all of the things, you can't do anything well. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we're going to talk about,
Well,
we're talking about burnout here, but if we, let's compare burnout to stress. How, if we've got people listening right now, I know we do, that are like, okay, am I stressed out or am I burned out? And I don't know that there's like specific clinical definitions for these words, but how do you kind of decipher between the two? What does that look like for you?
So for me and just like several people that I've talked to and worked with, I look at stress. So stress isn't a bad thing, like normal stress, right? Like it actually is a good thing. Studies have shown it is good. But when you're like in a constant, like high level of cortisol, where overwhelm we're tipping that, right? Because you have to look underneath what overwhelm is. Most people don't, like, they're in the fight, flight, freeze, you know, component of things where they're like survival mode almost. And it almost doesn't feel safe to rest and to relax. And then you got that people pleasing, the fawn. And then you literally are, sometimes when I like scroll or do things, you're like in a way like freezing, like you're
Hmm.
like numbing, not coping. And so I think when you look at normal stressors, right? Like, if people have kids and they have jobs and they have normal stressors, right? I got to pay my bills. I got to do this. But burnout is like where you're so exhausted and you might quit things you even love and enjoy. Like you all, indicated that maybe at some point I've not been like the nicest dog mom or parent, or I'm like snippy. So like it's actually kind of leaking into your values in your life, and it just doesn't feel good, and that's like a whole nother cycle. So I mean, burnout, I think too, is where you're probably not sleeping well. You're probably waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. You're so high cortisol, and you're so just like overwhelmed that you almost can't even function on some days, and so you're going to have like higher anxiety, feeling down. And so we're like, stress is, like I said, it's like this normal thing. So I think when people look at their lifestyle, like, what am I doing? I'm not taking care of myself. I'm feeling really like lethargic. I'm waking up. I'm snacking. I'm looking for this like these highs. And then obviously sometimes people will turn to alcohol or drugs if, to kind of help numb that and make themselves feel better too.
Hmm. For
Yeah, I
sure.
agree with Chrissy. Like, I have to ask myself all the time, am I doing this? Like, where is this coming from? Is it coming from a good place or an unhealthy place? Is it discipline or am I acting out of survival mode? So with stress, I see a little bit of hope there. Like there's still momentum. You're working towards something. It's like I got to get this stuff done. Whereas with burnout, it's almost like for me, it's learned hopelessness sometimes of like, well, it is what it is, or I can't do anything about it, or I'm done, or I'm gone. All those irrational thoughts start going through my head. And Mr. Steve, you brought up something that I'm a counselor, so I'll be emotionally present throughout the day. And then my emotional capacity, I wasn't saving anything for when I get home
Mhm.
with my wife. And I started noticing that I have to, manage my emotional capacity during the day. I may see less people during the day so that
Mhm.
I can still have an emotional bandwidth when I get home. Miss Julie, I'm right there with you. I was driving today. I'm like, we're about to do this episode on burnout, and I'm pretty close.
Hmm. That's what this whole podcast is about, is us not showing up like we have it all figured out, and we like we've got all the answers. Because if anybody tries to tell you they've got it figured out and they never experience burnout, they're lying to you. Just we like to be real around here. But
100%.
yeah.
100%.
So I was taking notes today because I felt like I really needed to dig into this one. And Joshua, I kind of wrote something similar to what you just said. To me, burnout feels like there's no end in sight. Stress is like, okay, I have a lot going on right now. Like I can feel myself ramped up. I can feel there's a lot of things that I need to deal with or a lot of stuff that I'm carrying, but it feels like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Burnout to me feels like there's no end in sight. And I think that's the biggest difference when I try to, when I compare the two is it burnout just feels so much bigger. Burnout is never good. Stress is definitely a positive driving force in our lives and it shows up in a lot of ways that we need. But burnout is just like this, I've given up, I can't do anything else.
So Josh kind of slapped me in the face a little bit right there with the learned hopelessness. It was like, damn, I've never had words for that one right there. But I have done that so many times. Fuck it. Like just the ultimate avoidance, right? I've done that so many times, but I've never heard it put that way. And I can absolutely relate to that one. When I thought about this, I thought it was interesting because, Julie, you know how sometimes I get these like visual little, like the story came to my mind and it was burnout and stress. Like stress, Chrissy, like you said, is kind of like that. It's a normal feeling. We get it throughout the day. It ebbs and flows. Burnout is where it gets raw. And
Mhm.
and then we're living in the raw. And so it's kind of like you're playing with a kid on the floor on the carpet wearing shorts. And you're playing around and you're running around and everything's good, right? Your knees are fine. And eventually your knees start getting that little burn to them, but you don't stop. You're having fun. You still have the goal. You still want to play with the kid. You don't want to let the kid down. You don't want all of this other stuff to stop. And by the time you're said and done, your knees are raw. You have rug burn. And now that leads into you're dealing with it for the rest of the day and it affects your life going forward.
That is an oddly decent analogy this time, Steve. Good job.
Right? Like
I'm
it
like, where
does.
is this going? But no, I see it. You're spot on.
Right? Like it affects your life going forward. Now your knees are raw. Now you hop in the shower. It's like a sunburn. You hop in the shower and you're like, fuck, my knees hurt. Right. And then you put you put jeans on so you can go to work and you're like, well, these are too tight. It's rubbing up against my knees. And what you
Everything's too
should have
much.
what you should have done was stop and be like, okay, it's getting a little bit raw. I need to do something a little bit different.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you
And
abandoned yourself.
right. And that's literally what burnout is the raw version of going too far. And
Yeah.
so that's like the visual I had in my head when I was thinking about that was that little analogy. That was kind of that's where I went with it.
Mhm. I think it's a really good way to describe it. That's exactly it, Chrissy. You abandon yourself. And I think we're all guilty of that sometimes. The goal is just to start realizing that we're doing it earlier, and reel it back in. I think that's kind of what we're trying to shoot for and all of that's what we're all shooting for as humans at any given moment.
I mean, what do? We take on too much responsibility and we don't say no. And I think that's probably what we're going into next. Like what? Well, no, not right now. I'll shut up. Go for it.
Steve went off script. No, I'm just kidding. So let's talk about what burnout feels like emotionally. I think we've talked about that a little bit. Some of the things that we notice. What are some of the emotions? What's some of the self-talk maybe that comes up for you when you're in a state of burnout? Chrissy's like, oh.
I have a great example. So, I've been alcohol free for like over 3 years now. And so I experienced burnout actually after I went alcohol free because I think that, some people think like, oh, if I just stop drinking, my life's going to be perfect. I'm like, no, you have to work on yourself. Um, there's so many things I couldn't predict prior to removing alcohol. So I ended up leaving now he's my ex-husband. I decided to write a book and I published it, worked full time, was a new single mom, and then decided I'm going to do coaching as well on the side and trying to do all the things. And I had a moment where I'm like, I don't have enough time. I want to quit everything. I don't like this. I feel unaligned. And it wasn't that I was not aligned. It was that it was how I was thinking about things because realistically, I cannot do 2 different jobs, it like, like, perfectly together because I do work full time. I'm busy. I want a life, right? So, like, I'm trying to have this massive success, and what I was noticing was I started, like, going on my phone obsessively, like, I start scrolling, and I feel overwhelmed, and I really just want to quit everything, like I mentioned, and I realized talking with somebody, because this is sometimes we need to honestly talk with people because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we just don't know how to get ourselves out of this hole that that we're in. Number 1, I was extremely like probably high cortisol. Like I was like waking up at 3, like I was on my phone too much. So I was like neglecting the things that I need in my morning time. So like my meditation, my like completing my workout, I would like rush and do things. And so I was like, I was very disconnected from myself too, and that's what I said, abandoning yourself. Like, you're so much in this mode of, I have to do all these things, and I have to do them perfectly, and if I'm not successful, then, like, what the heck? So it's, like, also, like, your thoughts about what you think is realistic, right? And then I'm like, "I don't have enough time," and when I broke it down, I'm like, "It's not that I don't have enough time, it's how am I using my time? How am I thinking about the task? Is it not because it's not perfect, right? Like maybe I'm not making a certain amount of money or so it's a lot of it is really how you think about things. And
Mhm.
what happens, at least what happened to me, I wasn't like thinking, "Oh, this will all work out." I'm like, "This is not going to work out." Right? I had this mindset of this isn't going to work out. And then I'm like feeling guilty because I talk to people about manifestation and like living this like joy-filled alcohol-free life, but I'm like, "But I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it." So for me, it was just a realization I almost had to crash. I don't want people to crash, but it's realizing like, okay, I'm starting to like kind of go off the deep end by all these like thoughts I'm having about how I think things should be and not taking a step back and going, what do I really enjoy? What brings me joy? Am I doing things that don't bring me joy as well? And I think it's really like taking an inventory of what's working, what's not. And then also being really compassionate to yourself because I was going through a really hard time and it was new. And I think that a lot of us, when we're overwhelmed, it's just we're juggling so much. And some of it might be new, some of it might be where we just feel like alone and we don't know how to like deal with all of these emotions. So I also have to say, reach out for help and talk to somebody too, because you honestly might be so overwhelmed that you can't see a silver lining. Like you mentioned, Josh, like it's like that. Like you don't have any hope. You're like, this, and then that's what I mentioned. You might quit things that you really love. You know, you might do things out of character because you just don't know what else to do.
Mhm. Yeah, that all resonates deeply.
Yeah.
I really like your analogy with the rug burn because it's uncomfortable, but it's not a crisis situation. It's not like something you need to stop and address. Uh, but if you keep doing it, yeah, it's going to eventually lead to something serious. But with burnout, I think a lot of times I overlook, especially emotionally, because physically you kind of it makes you stop. Where emotionally it's uncomfortable, but if you're dead set on just going, uh, y- I overlook it a bunch. And so a good litmus test is when I watched this video, or maybe it was a Facebook post, but it said something like, "What a blessing it is to be stressed by the things that you once prayed for."
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know if I said that right, but that's how I took it. And it's a good litmus test for me because I do so much that I love. Like I'm passionate about it all. Is something that is I'm excited to wake up every day. But when I start to get to where I'm detached, and that'll happen for like kind of mentioned before with the control. Like I'm wanting it to happen at a certain time, or I'm wanting a project to go a certain way, and it doesn't. And sometimes I'll just kind of step back and not work well with others, and that's on me. And there's a day I remember pulling into the my driveway, and I seen this little butterfly. This is so cheesy, but I seen this little butterfly, and I thought of my wife, and because like I could take that butterfly and I put it in a cage. That was my first thought. Is like, I want to catch that butterfly. I want to take it to her, and she would have been so mad at me for doing that. But that's kind of what sums up what I have to be aware of. It's like I have to let life be life and accept it for what it is and how free and wild it is, rather than trying to control it. And every time I jump in that seat, I end up becoming just like, well, it does. I just want to throw my hands up and step back because it's not going the way I thought it should have went. And because of that, I detach emotionally. I've gotten a lot better about noticing it along the way and um, avoiding those types of thoughts and behaviors so that I don't end up burnt out as much.
Mm-hmm. Do you tend to isolate a little bit too if you're feeling burned out?
I probably would, but like literally 7 days a week, I got something, and that's maybe contributes a little bit. It's also really good. And something, it's good to name it. Like I work around a bunch of counselors, so it's nothing for us to say, hey, you seem a little burned out, or even for us to admit it and own it, and to take PTO. They'll tell us all the time, hey, you need to take some PTO. So I work in a really good field that addresses and acknowledges burnout, and I have a lot of support in my life. So I'll go take a few days off, and maybe they don't ask me why or anything, and except for the ones that care. But even if I just said, hey, I need some self-care days, they're not going to give me any heck over it. I get to go home, rest, come back. They're good with it.
That's awesome. That's something that so many people don't necessarily have, is that kind of workplace support. The more I talk to people, the more I'm realizing that workplaces in general are starting to realize the value of that. But I think that's great that you have that option for sure. Um, yeah, when I'm thinking like self-talk and stuff that's going through my head, like I literally could write that out today while I was having that conversation with myself about getting my shit together. And the biggest place I go is back to not good enough. Like nothing is good enough. And that's where I lived like my whole life before I stopped drinking. And then before, I started working on myself, I lived in not good enough. That was just how I existed. If I can feel myself slipping back into not good enough, I'm like, okay, we are headed towards somewhere dark right now. We need to get some stuff in check. And I think that was the first thing that I really pointed out to myself today when I was thinking about the thoughts that go through my head. Just like never doing enough, not good enough. And then I think one of you guys said this also, like focusing on the negatives. I think it was Chrissy. So we are literally having like the greatest podcast month that we've ever had. Things are blowing up, listeners are doubling. Like it is so cool to see. And we should just be really excited by how many more people we're reaching and helping and supporting. And I'm still over here focusing on like the one negative Facebook comments that, and I'm like, or whatever. Like I can pick all this good stuff can happen, and I can pick out the one little thing and just focus on that. And if that's where I'm headed regularly and consistently, like I'm focusing on the negative when there's so much positive, that's another kind of internal alarm that goes off for me that, yeah, things are ramping up too much. I need to rein it back in a little bit before I spiral completely.
You know what they say, though? They say, like, if you get the negative comments, you've made it. Like, you're officially
Right.
made it.
Exactly.
When
Yeah,
you
but
find the trolls under the bridge.
tell that
You-
to the version of me, though, that is
Right.
Yeah. I'd be the same way.
Easier said than done. When I want reality to be different than what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and I want it to be different than what it is over and over and over again, where my expectations become unrealistic to what the truth is. I want it to be something different. I'm not acknowledging that it isn't, and I'm not doing what I need to do to realign reality with my expectations. And so where I go is when that doesn't happen is I'm clearly failing.
Yeah.
I'm burnout. I'm failing because my expectations are over here and I want more out of the effort that I'm putting into all the time. And then so if I need to put more effort into it because that's my solution is to keep going, I'm just saying that I need to step back and actually take a look. So like emotionally, I'm like a fried egg. I'm kind of just a puddle eventually. That's where I'll go. And I've been burnt out before. And Chrissy, you mentioned the crash. The crash is me ignoring burnout over and over and over again until Joshua, my body tells me to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like my body it'll shut me down eventually if I don't listen to all of the emotional cues and I just try and force the square peg through the round hole. It's freaking round.
No, what you talk about there, the like trying harder, trying harder. So my cycle is I go to the not good enough first. Nothing that I do feels like it's enough. So I raise the bar higher. I'm already burned out. I already don't have the energy to hit here. But now I'm like, this isn't enough. Move it higher, then try to meet. So it's just like it snowballs into something bigger and bigger until I stop at the snowball. But that's kind of what you're describing there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about actual things that we can talk about that help us. What have you used when you've been burned out that was really effective that maybe our listeners can take away from this episode that will help them, face some of the burnout, cope with some of the burnout? I know a lot of us for so long, the answer was drinking. And so that we would just numb it and we would try to ignore it. And since we can't do that now, we've got to actually learn how to cope, not just numb. So I think that's what you said earlier, Chrissy. So what does that look like? What is coping with burnout actually look like in your life?
Gosh. And I have to first say before I even go on that, you both like all you guys keep talking about such great topics where I'm like, oh, that's right. That happened to me. I think when you talk about the fear of failure and like also the not surrendering, the control, I have to have control of this outcome because if it doesn't go my way, things are going to burn to the floor. So I
It's
think
really control based too, isn't it?
yes,
It is.
it is. And it's a fear. And it's like, I mean, it's understanding them like almost like the mechanics, like the emotions behind overwhelm, right? Like what is actually going on. So I think taking inventory like you did is like getting kind of like what is going on. For me, it's like I want to control everything. So I want to predict my future. So if this is going to happen, it has to happen this way. So I'm prepared. And it's understanding that we don't have that control. It is the art of surrendering in some regards. And hopefully, it's better than we think. Right. And then the fear of failure, but then also it's adding joy to your life. I know it sounds like instead of not doing all the things, like, what do you like to do? Because in overwhelm, I'm not doing things I enjoy, right? I'm thinking about all the things that are falling apart and I'm trying to control. And it's taking so much mental space. I'm not maybe going out. And when I'm out, am I present? Am I even like focused on the person? Or am I thinking about the 55 tasks I have to do? So it's really realizing that how this isn't serving us and having joy. And then, maybe it is take an inventory. What am I doing in my overwhelm that's creating more overwhelm? And so am I scrolling? Like I mentioned before, am I distracting myself? What am I doing that's not getting me to where I want to be? And sometimes it might be scheduling things that might be too overwhelming for people, depending on people's personalities. But it's looking at like, okay, I just scrolled for 20 minutes in the morning where I could have got up and did something. So, kind of looking at that as well. And again, have fun. Life is not meant to be a constant rat race. And I think failure and success are really like looked at. So I guess what I want to say is that I think there's this go, 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 go culture where we have to be turned on all the time. We don't know how to rest. And it's really turning into ourselves and what do we actually need? Like if you sat down, took a breath, what do I need? Sometimes it's literally like stop doing things, rest. You need rest. You have to have rest. If you keep going, like we mentioned, you burned out. So it's, can you read a book? You know, and I'm not talking about spending 14 hours like looking at Netflix, like, because to me, that's not good rest for me. I don't find that
Right.
particularly that enjoyable, spending hours watching TV. But I read a book the other day outside. I'm like, when's the last time I've done this? I don't give myself permission to have actual like downtime. It's like if I'm not doing something, I feel like it's almost not productive. So
Mhm.
realizing that resting, self-care is safe and it's okay to do that too.
Not just okay, but, like, necessary. I think that's the
Yes.
I struggled so much with, like, trying to give myself permission for the self-care or to rest or whatever that was, and it's not optional. It's not optional at any point in our lives, but even when you don't have time to rest, you still need to make time to rest. Like, something else has to get set aside, otherwise you're just gonna keep spiraling.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the downtime, the rest, that was or the non-productive time, that for me was very unsafe. I grew up in a, a, a very chaotic home, and so unpredictability, all that type of stuff, that for me kind of in the back of my mind triggers that survival mode of I have to make things work and safe because I have no safety net, and that will kind of keep me going. And it fuels that control, that compulsive need for control, and it'll bleed out into different areas of my life. So what I started doing, or I started working 40 hours a week, and I had my business I started, and things were going good, right? I mean, it sounded great, and it is great. I love what I do, but again, where was it stemming from? Is I had to make things work, so that only got me so far. I started scheduling like Sunday, and I did that for 3 years straight. Almost worked 7 days every day, loving what I do. But I started kind of wavering. At the end, I took about 2 weeks PTO, had a reset, feeling good. But what I've done differently is every Sunday from 12 to about 3 or 4, I have it set for. It's on my calendar. I don't. That way, nobody can schedule me. I don't schedule over it. That's my music time. I go play music with my buddies, and I try not to over schedule that time either, and be control. I give them a hard time, but they're really great, and they help me so much because it's something different. It's something personal. Of It's not work. It is very much a creative process, and where we have to allow things to happen, and that it's good for my brain to kind of let others take the lead of that writing space. Something else that I do during that time is like make T-shirts. Now, I do it. I'm not any good at it. I'm not. I'm really not. But I love to do it, and it's just something to be bad at and enjoy. Because I'm
Mhm.
so good at other stuff I do, it's actually more fun to do something I'm not good at. So those are some of the things that help me like kind of reset my brain from trying to make everything work is to do something I'm really bad at. There's a motivational video I really like to watch. It's called The Process, and it talks about it is a very spiritual based video, but it talks about us being in the process of, what we're going through today is what is developing us and preparing us for where we are going. That it's not where we are going that is the goal. The goal is the process that we undergo while we are getting there. And I spent 2 years. I quit listening to music for like 2 years, I didn't listen to any music. I listened to this every morning and every evening. And I had to reprogram my brain because I was just so stuck on getting to something. And it helped me get back to a place of gratitude and acceptance, and mentally made me more resilient to deal with my day to day, to where I didn't get burned out. I had never done that before. That's not the messaging I got from my parents. That is not how I learned how to think. That is not how I learned how to survive. Um, Again, PTO. I know it sounds so simple, but take it. Take your PTO. I had like 200 hours saved up. I'm like, okay, well, they said you have to take it. Mandatory. Go. Something else, of course, reducing substances, reducing the alcohol, reducing caffeine. I have to really manage caffeine to help me do a lot of stuff until just completely washing out. But that same thought pattern, if I could do more, if I had a Starbucks coffee,
Mm-hmm.
with, let me get a couple more shots of espresso in there. That may work then, but I'm going to feel it that night, that morning, and throughout the week. And
Sacrifice
I've had to,
sacrifice the next 3 hours for right now, right?
I've had to, just kind of tell me, like, if you're tired, you're tired.
Mm-hmm.
The goal isn't to ignore the tired. The goal is to actually honor it. And
Yeah.
so many of us
Mhm.
are like, oh, and that's not just tired. That's literally any feeling. The feelings have a point. We're supposed to pay attention to them and honor them, not just ignore them. But I think that's, how a lot of us get into the state of burnout, is just ignoring whatever the feelings are and pushing through them.
100%. You make a good point too. Just a real quick plug, get sleep. People I don't think realize how important sleep is. You have to sleep. And yes, we know that alcohol disrupts REM sleep and increases cortisol. And it's, so once we stop drinking, we get to have our sleep. And I can't echo that enough, that if you don't get enough sleep, it will impact your mood, it'll impact your hunger, it'll impact everything. So that should be a huge priority, when you think about burnout and just being tired. Get
You
sleep.
should have seen me on Monday.
Right. Steve didn't sleep all
I
night
didn't sleep
Sunday.
all night
Just
Sunday.
bad
I
night.
was a fucking bear. I was a bear, and I knew it. I was audible about it. I'm like, I'm just in a shit mood. You can leave me alone if you want. I won't be offended. I am just a grump. I wanna hug, and I want to scream all at the same time. And it's just, yeah, I was just a bear. Sleep is so important. It doesn't have to be like 8 hours every night or whatever. I get having a rough night, but generally speaking, that was one rough night that I had, and I can tolerate one or two of those, but I wasn't set up to be able to tolerate it clearly, because I didn't. But yeah, Julie.
Yeah, the sleep thing, like, there are times that you just don't have control. You're just gonna have bad dreams or whatever, it's gonna fall apart. But it's the intentional, like, sleep hygiene and making sure that you're making it a priority to sleep well, I think is what Chrissy's talking about. And yeah, fully echo that, because that's like, that should be our number one form of self-care. And most people overlook it, and they're like, no, I'll just stay up a couple more hours and get a little bit more work done or whatever. And then it sets them up for a rough day or
I,
potentially burnout.
I got my train of thought back. I had lost the train. It went. Didn't have a ticket for that one. The next one showed up.
Okay.
I did have a ticket for it, and it was the surrender and control part. As soon as I let go of control, then burnout starts to decrease.
Mhm.
It is almost like the opposite. I'm trying to control too much, and as soon as I start letting go of what I can't control and start surrendering to what is, I get my control back. It's kind of like it's a paradox in itself, isn't it?
Mhm. Yeah.
Because you get your control back by letting go of control.
Yeah.
You get yourself back by letting go of the things that you're just trying to force into life. Anyways,
One
Mhm.
of
it was
the
just, go ahead.
12 steps. So I had to do AA, I had to do NA, and they were cool. But the one that I really gravitated towards was Adult Children of Alcoholics Anonymous and Dysfunctional Families, of course, because it had a serenity prayer in there that was slightly different. I don't know if y'all know the serenity prayer, but the one for ACA is God grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know that one is me. So it's more of a relationship base.
Mm-hmm.
But it really goes into it. It mentions drugs and alcohol, but the core of what you're working on is control. And like what you were saying, that paradox. So control is like a drug. It has its high, meaning like when you're in control, it's great, but eventually, inevitably, you will lose control. It's kind of like the crash,
Yeah.
and that's not so fun. But the alternative of what to work for, like the emotional sobriety, is choice. So you have control and then you have choice. And then, so what the goal is, okay, I'm going to lay all my choice, even the bad ones. I'm going to put the bad ones on the table. I could do these things. And
Mhm.
it feels a lot better is because, okay, now I got all these things I can do. I can't control other people. I can't control outside events, but like you said, it gives you the power back.
Mm-hmm. What is the can do here out of the
Mhm.
out of the can't do's? I think it's easier to focus on the can't do's. I think we just naturally gravitate that way. And that leads us to that burnout, and it leads us to that emotional like disconnect. And when you switch it to the what can I do, then that's once again that is the control part. What can I do, and then the action I can take to take care of the one thing. Part of the burnout is chucking more energy at something that isn't returning the energy that you need it to return to you.
Mhm.
Like I'm gonna keep pouring into this project, or keep pouring into this person, and keep pouring into this life that isn't. If you're not pouring into yourself, or you see no return, then it's really hard sometimes to wrap your head around, why am I bothering putting effort into this, even though it's important to you, and letting go of some of it, because clearly without my effort, it's not going to work.
I'm like, okay, so the way that I define burnout, like is consistently doing the same thing over and over and over again, and feeling like there's no return on that investment, whatever that is. Now that we're talking more about the control piece, that's essentially just trying and trying and trying to control something and realizing that I can't, but still continuing to try. So, like, I think the way that I've described it before is describing that same thing. It's trying to control something over and over that you can. And I think that's, to go back to stress, is usually stuff in your life that you can take action on and that you need to take action on and you can do stuff. Burnout is trying to control stuff you can't control over and over again. So, yeah, I love that. And Joshua, what you said about like you look at all your possible options of things you can do, even the terrible ones. That is something I actually sit down and do with clients, because if as soon as you realize I have like 15 options here, it doesn't matter if 12 of them are horrible and you would not choose those. Just seeing that you have those options and that you have the wisdom and the strength to pick the good one, all of that is so empowering. Like it actually does give you something back. For sure.
The other thing to that too is, if you wrote 15 of those down and 12 of them are horrible, you're like, wow, these 3 aren't that bad.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're like, whoa, like this option that I thought was shit is the best. Like
So
these
much
are
more appealing.
really bad,
Absolutely. Yeah. So,
Oh.
yeah. So when I was thinking like stuff that we can actually do, things that are tangible that you can actually apply if you're in like, if you're burned out, a big one is prioritizing, and then like make your list, write everything down that you're worried about, everything down you're working on, every to-do list, every task, all of it. Put it on a sheet of paper and then go through and prioritize it. Pick out a few that are important. and take some stuff off the list. And I know that there's people listening as I say this that are like, I cannot do that. I cannot take anything off of my list. And like, I guarantee you can. You probably don't like the way that it sounds or the way that it feels, or there's something in you that doesn't want to take the things off the list, but
Or who
also
you might
you
let
can.
down.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I mean. You might let somebody down and you don't want to do that. So you feel like you can't. It's not that you can't, it's that you're choosing not to. You're choosing them over you. And you're continually trying to honor other people instead of yourself. But it's one of the hardest things to hear when you're in this place where you're just hustling and you're just trying to do all of the things and somebody says to you, okay, take 5 things off of that list because this is not sustainable. Take 5 things off your list. And the first thing you say is, no, I can't do that. There's nothing here that I can take off. Like there is. You're not going to like it and that's okay. Your body and your mind will appreciate you later. And then the other thing that I focus on a lot, and I've done this since early sobriety, was like, what is good enough? Because
Mhm.
I like to do everything as completely and thoroughly and perfect as I possibly can. So if I have a lot of stuff that I'm chasing after, a lot of goals that I'm trying to do, I'm trying to meet every goal all the way up here. And I heard this explained a great way today that I love. What is like your B minus work, right? We're not looking for A pluses through our entire life. If you're in a state of burnout, you are not working towards A plus on anything. You are working towards B minus, like passing, right? And if you can look at that list of things that you wrote out and actually define what is your B minus work in this set and be okay with that. Let that be enough. You can come back and improve it later, 100%. But right now, let's just stick with B minus work and let that be okay.
Yeah, like one of the things that's super hard was, or it is super hard, is for me to delegate.
Mm-hmm.
I have a whole team, awesome team, and that's less on them and more on me. Of like, well, I can't let that go. I can't, and I get to a point where I have to, and then there's another part of that is the trust and acceptance of, okay, I'm going to trust this person to do this task, and hopefully I communicate everything I need to communicate about it, and then I have to accept the work that comes back. And sometimes it's awesome, and sometimes it's I would have done things differently, but the fact is it got done. It is acceptable, other than just preferences a lot of the times. And you know what? It got done. And honestly, we covered a lot more ground as a team than one person. But because of this stuff right here, if I keep trying to hang on to all the tasks and hang on to this responsibility, not only am I less effective or we're less effective, but I won't go as far.
Mhm.
Facts.
Absolutely. Yep. Very well said. Steve, do you have anything you want to add to that as far as things that you do that help with burnout or that help prevent burnout?
Normally when I talk about it and I say it out loud, I give myself a chance to stop. I operate well when I hear myself. And so when I hear myself say something, I don't know, it seems to hit me differently, and it gives me the opportunity to say, okay, like what isn't working here, and where can I focus my energy on potentially like finding a small win. One of the things, Julie, you've said before that every once in a while I'll try and put some intention into, but you do it better than I do. Is one of the ways to help yourself prevent burnout is to fill your cup a little bit throughout the day.
Mhm.
Throughout your day, you're busy, you don't have time for stuff. You can take 5 minutes and Julie, you talk about like savoring something. Find something that is within your realm, within your reach. Go outside for a bit. Like on my lunch at work, I'll go for a quick 10-15 minute walk. I'm outside, I can hear the birds, create a little bit of of presence. It's incredible what can happen if you just like touch the ground or touch some wood or just get outside and uh try and savor a little bit. There's moments that we can grab throughout the day if we bring it right back to the present. And I think that helps prevent the burnout, because the more aware I am, the more I'll be able to respond and react to the things in the way I need to react to them as they come up. And then I can keep the stress into a level where I can manage before it starts to boil.
100%. That's probably my biggest, most important thing when we're talking preventing burnout is the little things throughout the day. I am actually hosting a workshop in about a week from when this episode comes out, on exactly that, on how to use self-care, like built into your days so that you can keep your cup full instead of hitting a state of burnout. So I'll post some information in the show notes on that workshop. I'm going to close this out by asking you guys one last question. If somebody is listening right now and they are absolutely feeling burned out, they're in that state where they feel like they're just not going to get out of it, what is one thing they can do, like right now, that it will at least bring it down a little bit? Because we know we can't fix everything.
I think I love what you said, the wins, but I think that's so important to focus on the positive. But I think if you're kind of stuck in just a bad state where you're like, I don't know what to do, I think it's time to just rest. Literally maybe just rest and take a break. And I know that might seem counterproductive to somebody that feels overwhelmed, but if you are that overwhelmed, you can't think logically. You're not going to make probably sound decisions. So I think it's like just a signal that something's not working. Take a break, rest, and you can always revisit things, but kind of go internal and see what's going on and spend time with yourself. And I think that would be a really good start.
Definitely. Agreed.
I'd say that burnout's not a failure; it's a signal. And if you keep going and going and going, and you're not enjoying what you love to do anymore, what's the point? And how much more harm than good are you doing? Something that I see all kinds of cool stuff on Facebook, but it was this guy. He was talking about how in his friendships earlier he would say, "I'll take care of you if you take care of me." But as he grew older, he changed that to, "I promise to take care of me if you promise to take care of you. I promise to take care of myself for you, and you promise to take care of yourself for me, so that I can be the best version of myself for you." And that's kind of how I look at self care now. And I really struggle with that coming from a past with addiction. Uh, being very very selfish, and then stepping into recovery. Self care sounded just like selfishness to me, and learning what the difference is and why that's important. Self care isn't selfish. It's yes, you're taking care of yourself, but you are so important in others' lives. And so when you take care of yourself, you're able to be the best version of yourself for others.
Absolutely. That's so well said. Um, yeah, if somebody's absolutely burned out right in this minute, I am going to go back to look at your list, decide what good enough looks like, and stick to good enough until you feel like you have the capacity for more. Let good enough be good enough, drop that bar, and get done what must get done. You can come back and perfect it later. Let yourself operate it at B minus for a while.
99% of the time, everything we do is not life or death. It feels like it. It feels tense. It feels more important than it is. So if you're feeling burned out, ask for help and stop. You'll find your solution. Your solution exists. Your solution exists in not doing all of the things that you think you need to do. I want to say, Chrissy, thank you. And thank you also, Joshua. I want to say thank you to our listeners. You guys are amazing. Hit the subscribe button. Do I know? I do know why you're not. I don't know why you're not subscribed, but I do know that you aren't subscribed yet, or a good portion of you, probably about 70%, as I had checked the statistics. That means there's a whole bunch of you out there that just need to hit the subscribe button. I'm smiling if you're listening. Anyways, I want to say really thank you for being here. I appreciate all of our listeners. You can go to our website, No Alcohol Needed, learn about Chrissy and learn about Joshua. You can find out about our Monday night evening virtual gatherings. It is where Julie and I host a meeting. It is in support of people. I mean, if you like this podcast and you like the conversations, you're going to like the conversations that we have there. This podcast is literally built off of those conversations. It's why we do what we do. And we're there to help, support, and share our lives with you. Anyways, thank you so much, and we'll see you again next week.